Hi everyone, it's Dina and Kira here in the laundry room, and we just recorded an episode about preparation for parenthood. And in this episode, Kira is doing the primary sharing because she actually wrote a workbook about this. And we wanted to take some time to break down for you a synopsis of what we just discussed so you can hear from her about what are the things you should be thinking about in advance while you're still expecting. What are maybe some conversations you could be having with your partner to help hopefully prevent some roadblocks in the future.
Yeah, and I think one of the things we talked about that we both agree on is that the setup is actually the ultimate preventative care. It's the ultimate in being
really
proactive. Like where we see couples fall down and where we see them really struggle is actually not thinking about these things, not having these simple conversations, and then all this resentment and all this stuff builds up, and now we're underwater and we're just surviving and we're not thriving at all.
Yeah.
And it's just having a few simple conversations and getting some plans in place, even if you tweak those plans later down the line, really are the setup for success. Now maybe we're tweaking this one thing instead of saying the whole thing's a mess. Exactly.
So it's still really helpful even if you end up making changes later. So you talked about three major things today, kind of three segments of things that you talk about when you are coaching with couples. So what is the first one? And I know you said you went a little bit out of order.
Yeah.
So maybe tell us why you went out of order too.
So I went out of order because when I'm working with a couple, I want to get to know them, and we're sort of going a little more chronologically and really looking at so many different things in more depth. But I wanted today to start with what I think is the most important thing. Like if listeners only did this one thing, do this.
Yes.
And that is really getting clear and honest is a key word here, really honest about what are some of the things that are going to change by bringing a baby home. Looking at what are my day-to-day things that actually get harder to do. I'm not sure when I'll do them. Maybe I can't even do them at all. And who am I as a person? What are my basic needs that if I don't get those met every day, I'm not going to feel good? And so I have couples sit down and make a whole list of everything: cooking, cleaning, getting ready in the morning, going to the bathroom, me time, gym time, pets. I mean, you name it. I also always have to suggest, hey, your sex life is going to change. Most people don't think about that.
Right.
Like, when are you going to do that? So looking at all these things, making a huge list, and then taking that list and dividing that into three categories.
Okay, so what should those three categories be?
Okay, so then you've made this list together. Individually, you're going to go off and you're going to organize into everything that's on that list into one of three categories. So the first category is things I will prioritize. These are the things that make you you. Like if this doesn't happen for you every day,
You
you're
don't
gonna
feel like
die.
a person?
Yeah. So for me, it was taking a shower. Like I know lots of women that actually don't mind that showerless period of motherhood. I just knew that I literally don't feel like a person. So I needed a shower every single day. But for some people, it's going to be getting on the treadmill every day, reading for 20 minutes every day, whatever it is. So taking these things and putting into the things I will prioritize category. Now, I always say this can only have 5 things and they have to total no more than 30 minutes. If you have 2 things on there that each take 15 minutes, then your
list
have
is
2
full.
things on that list. That's not to say that you're going to be like this every day, but there are some days where that's really all you get. And I want to make sure that my couples know I know what to do with my 30 minutes. I know how to meet my needs immediately. The other thing that is going to happen once you put things into that list is that you're going to share with each other so that you can look at how do I support my partner in getting their needs met so that everyone actually feels seen, heard, and taken care of. So simple. If your partner doesn't know what your needs are, they might not meet them.
Yeah,
but if you have that
could be tricky.
conversation, it's a lot easier to say, I'm going to go hop in the shower instead of feeling like you have to ask for that. You shouldn't have to ask to get your needs met.
Yeah, or feel bad about it.
Or feel bad about it. So everyone knows what the needs are and how to take care of them. The second category is things you can delegate. Anything on that list that someone else could do for you initially. Cooking, cleaning, grocery shopping, even bill paying. I had someone come over and pay my bills for me because I paid everything by check and I was worried I'd miss a payment because I knew I'd be so crazy.
So smart.
She came over once a month, paid all my bills for me. I had a friend who messaged me whenever there was a birthday for the first 6 months, so I'd remember to get a card. Just little things that these things are helpful. Friends want to help.
Yes.
But we make that list and we put it on the fridge because people are going to come over and they're going to say, what can I do? And so often new parents are like, I don't know, just sit here with me. And we want them to feel empowered to say, there's a list on the fridge, and hey, we want your friends and family to feel empowered to help. So this is a great way to get some things done at the beginning and get some help without having to specifically ask for it. And then the last list is things I'll let go of for now. These might be things that for a little while you're not going to
Just
be able to
aren't
do.
gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I always say to people on baby's first birthday, pull out that list, check off all the things that have come back to you, and you'll be surprised. But here's the most important thing about this list, this particular list, and this is really what this exercise is for. You have to readjust your expectations of yourself when you go into parenthood. Too often, parents think they're going to be able to do everything they're doing now, and guess what? You're so busy already, they're going to be able to do everything they're doing now and have a newborn. And the reality is, a newborn's a full-time job. So we may have to readjust our expectations. But what a difference to feel like, hey, I got my 5 things on my priorities list done, and I did the laundry,
Yes.
and I did the dishes. I'm a rock star, as opposed to, oh my gosh, I only got these 5 things done, but you never had any kind of categorization, and now you're thinking, oh, I failed. I didn't do anything today.
I got almost nothing done.
Completely different perspective. And then the offshoot of these 3 lists is everyone needs to know what their job is overnight. And both partners should have a job overnight. You can hear my long-winded rant about this on the episode, but it's true. I get really, really tired of hearing, oh, my partner has to go to work in the morning. Guess what? The primary caregiver also has to go to work in the morning, even if they're at home. Babies are really intense bosses, and you can't really communicate with them, and you're not even doing it on a hot cup of coffee or a full night's rest. So everyone should be tired, everyone should be participating overnight. And the other thing is that then the partner gets to know the nuances of the baby. This increases bonding. It makes the nursing partner or the partner who's staying home really feel like they're being supported and they're working as a team. And it means that then when they hand over the baby and the baby's upset, guess what? The partner knows what to do because they've been up in the night.
Yeah, and this is so great too because it dovetails so well with what we're always talking about. And what Kira's really emphasizing here is this is all about being preventative and being proactive and getting some things in place in advance so that you can reduce, if not eliminate, that frustration and resentment that comes from unmet expectations. So we're talking about lowering expectations so that you can meet each other's needs rather than dealing with unmet expectations that just cause frustration.
Yeah.
So what is the second thing?
So the second thing is to really look at the adult that you want to raise and get clear not just on the human being and the character traits that you want them to have, but also what you want your family life to look like. If you have this long view in mind, then you can take a step back and you can say, okay, so I want my child to be kind. Well, what does kindness mean to you? What does that look like for you in the past? How do you see it out in the world? And then we ask, well, what are the steps that are necessary for me as a parent to take in order to raise a child who's kind? And then when it comes to looking at our family dynamic, like you've said on episodes, experiences and traveling was really important to you. If that's how you envision your family, well, we've got to look at how are we going to make that possible? How are we going to come up with the funds or make the time? These also become great markers for, is it working? Is it not working? Yes. We can check in and say, oh, gosh, we haven't traveled in a year, and that was on top of our priority list. What's happening here that's not working? Or, boy, I'm not seeing kindness in my child right now, and that was like a core priority for us. How do we need to maybe make a course correction to get back on track with what we're trying to achieve?
Excellent. Okay, and then the final thing.
And the final
Super
thing,
important.
so important. I would almost say it's like 1B of how important it is.
Have this conversation.
Have this conversation. What are you going to do when you disagree? We have a whole episode on, parenting on the same page and how do you do that with your partner? But here's the truth of it. It's going to happen sooner than you think. And if you have not had a conversation about how you are going to handle it, it is far more likely that when you disagree, it's going to cause an argument and that one of you may actually undermine the other without even intending to. That happens all the time and it's never intentional, but it's a reactive parenting decision instead of a proactive one. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you disagree and you go, hey, that's okay. Look, we're not on the same page here. We had a plan for this. When we disagree, we do X, Y, or Z, or we go into the next room and discuss it, or we push pause on this, or whatever it is. And then it's that much easier to just go do the thing you plan to resolve the problem. You're not surprised that you disagree. You're able to communicate. It's not shocking that you're communicating about it either. Like, hey, I felt kind of undermined there. I think this is one of those situations where we don't agree. We need to implement that plan. It's all about having a plan. That's not to say you have to stick to it. It's not to say that you're not going to be flexible and having to tweak and perfect, which is why when I'm coaching, I love that I get that check-in at the 12-week mark to go, how's it going?
Yes.
Is it working? What do we need to look at? Because of course you're going to have to do that. But the bottom line is we want you to be tweaking instead of rebuilding. Those
Absolutely.
are totally, totally different things.
It is way different to implement a plan on the fly than to create one.
Yeah.
And so you do the creating in advance. So then all you're doing is implementing or maybe making those little tweaks. So that's really the essential piece here. And that's really what we're all about. And what's great is if you want more of this or want it fleshed out more, Kira's written a whole workbook on it. And it's called Future Focused Parents to Be. You can get it on Amazon or on our website, futurefocusedparenting.com. If you go to the shop tab, you can get it there.
Yeah.
So definitely check that out because there's really good stuff in there that you can be talking about to lay an amazing foundation for being a future-focused parent.
And if you want a little bit more support or you read the workbook and you think, gosh, I'd really like that check-in call, then I love working with expectant parents. So I'm always happy to dive in at whatever point you're at to look at how can we set you up for success or oops, I'm on the other side and help. We can help with that.
Yes, that's what the coaching is there for.
Exactly.
It's all of that builds on each other. So you can listen to the podcast, you can get a book, but then if you even need more, you can go that next step with coaching, which is what's so great. So hopefully this has been helpful. You got a little sneak peek into the episode, heard some great tips from Kira, know how to find her book, you should get it. And we will see you next time.